we're back. Knicks season media day 2019-2020.
It's season 2 for Terry and Trey here.
Take note.
Big Beach.
We're here.
My man, Alan Houston.
It's different this time. I want to talk about Media Day today. We're so excited.
Everyone is.
Getting lots of information, and so we just kind of watched Steve and Scott and Fizdale talk a little bit. And what's your general consensus of what they're saying about this team?
Well, one thing about Media Day that made this year even more interesting is after the summer, radio silence. We didn't, and I think it was a smart decision by the Knicks. They didn't really comment on the signings. They didn't didn't do a press conference for the signings at all. You look back through Knicks history, you can find press conferences for every bad signing we've made.
Well, especially when they do big signings.
Yeah, but even like smaller ones, we've done like the most random press conferences before.
Okay,
so it's very clearly
we
a
cut
decision.
We cut all of that out.
Yeah, it was a decision this year of like, we're not gonna...
Let's not be in the media right now. Maybe we don't even deserve to be in the media right now.
Well,
some of those sentiments, yes.
They kind of knew. I think they knew what would happen, and you could tell today the questions were tough. They went in on what happened this summer, what didn't happen this summer. Was this a decision? Did it just happen to them? What are they going to do with Frank? What are they going to do with Dennis Smith? What are they going to do with RJ?
Scott and Steve definitely seem to be pushing the narrative that this didn't happen by accident.
Right.
This roster that we're currently looking at was somewhat a planned roster.
Yep.
They had looked at these guys. I know that Scott does a lot of intense
He's
scouting
and
really gets his analytics and really knows these players up to the last minute, having people working out with them.
Right.
And they said that this team we're looking at were names that were on a board in this order as this group.
Yep.
And I think they were really pushing that.
Now, people will say that's cap, they're lying, blah, blah, blah. I'll say this. This is definitely not the team they wanted. They did not go into the summer last year thinking, all right, this is what we're going to get. However, this is possibly one of the teams that they had in mind. And I definitely think they did their, like you said, they do their homework, especially Perry. This is not Team A, maybe not Team B, but this might have been Team C. And I think they were fully prepared for a Team C scenario. And I think that's one thing Perry is, he's prepared. So I think they knew this scenario might happen. They did have these guys on their list. Maybe these guys weren't the number one people
I actually think they could have had like 3 or 4 of these guys definitely on their list. Like I definitely think Julius was on their list. I definitely think that Taj could have been there.
Right, I think Bobby Portis was on their list. I think he was the first one contacted.
Wayne Ellington, not Wayne Ellington, sorry.
Alfred
Payton, our floor general. And one of the things that they was saying as well with these guys had other options. It's not like, oh, the Knicks are offering me a position, let me go there real quick. No, it was actually, these guys had options to go to lots of other teams. You mentioned the LA Lakers could have actually...
a lot of the Lakers
are done really well with some of these guys.
Yeah, the Lakers need role players.
Could have definitely filled out their roster.
Yeah.
Another narrative I think I definitely heard from them and that I like a lot is the balance that this team has. We spoke about it at an earlier show as well. Yes, we still have our young guys, but they also have veterans, and we also have these guys that are like 23, 24 that have been playing in the league for 3-4 years, so they have that experience.
Yeah.
Maybe not the full leadership that the veterans have, but they have the experience of playing in this league, so they know what it is to play in the NBA.
Yeah, they're solid pros that have proven themselves. They said that a couple of times. The reason I believe that this is one of the teams that they saw coming is they made these signings at rapid fire speed. When the building started to crumble on the idea of getting these big guys, immediately we just heard Bobby Portis signed, Julius Randle signed, Alfred Payton. These are guys who usually make it to later in free agency.
It was literally how quickly. I remember we...
Yeah. We did the whole video on it. A couple days, but the fact is, these are the role players are usually not signed early in free agency. The stars go, role players start to fill out. The Knicks basically signed the bulk of these guys within a week, and were very adamant about it. It was quick, it happened, there was no drama. Like, you just heard a signing. You didn't hear the Knicks are considering. It was literally like, boom, Knicks have signed Reggie Bullock, boom, Knicks have signed whatever.
So that does make you feel like they had that
it was one of their plans, right? Another thing I love is Scott Perry directly addressed the Knicks signed all the power forwards narrative. It's rare to see a GM, even for the Knicks, directly address a specific complaint in the NBA zeitgeist. But Scott Perry straight up was like, I keep hearing about this power forward thing. We had no power forwards last year.
We've added a lot of versatility to the roster. You know, a lot has been made over the summer that, you signed 4 power forwards. Well, I think if you examine our roster at the end of the year, Under contract, we only had one player in the front court, and that was Mitchell Robinson, who's a second-year player. So we were going to have to go out and stock our front court, and each and every one of those players play multiple positions.
All real Knicks fans know this. There was no one left. It was Mitch, and we didn't have any power forwards to follow the roster. So I'm glad that Perry did it. I think it also shows he's keeping his ear to what's going on and what people are saying, which I think is good as well, because he doesn't seem to me like someone who's going to react based on what he's hearing, but he will address it if he feels it's wrong. And
Well,
I think
he was asked the question, I think, so he had to address it.
No, he brought it up on his own. No one
did?
asked him. He just straight up said, and we were talking about the signings, and he brought up the power forward thing.
All right.
So that was great to see. I think what Perry and Miller's overarching theme of this, what we've seen, is that they did their work this summer, even if it wasn't what people wanted or what the media thought they would get. And they don't want to feel, they don't like the idea of like, oh, you guys just lucked out. They're like, no, we put in work to get these guys.
So we're excited about the group of guys that we have, obviously based on the timeline and how we signed those guys. It was clear they were on our radar, and they were part of what we thought the future of the Knicks should be and what it should look like.
Fizdale this year seemed to be a little bit more serious and definitely like to the point. Almost kind of not long-winded, short-winded. Is that
Short-winded, I guess.
short-winded?
Yeah, terse.
Got to the point,
Yeah.
and also made mention of Miller, the coach who was coach in the G League, who's now with them.
Mike Miller, that made me so happy.
Yeah, and you said he's a systems guy, so that's going to be really good
Fizz
for them
said
as well.
it, which really blew my mind. So diehard Knicks fans know about Mike Miller. He's been in Westchester doing great work the past couple of years. If you look at how Westchester's developed and like how it's a real G League team now, that players go there and the players come up and they develop and etc. So it's great. The fact that Fizdale brought him up and literally said things like he's going to be important for our player development. He has a lot of ideas. I've been listening to him. That did not seem forced.
Yeah.
I think Mike Miller personally should be the assistant coach because I think Fizz is a great chemistry, charisma, media guy, motivator.
And Mike Miller's
Mike
like
is the boom, boom,
right.
boom. And I think it works perfectly.
Right.
So Fizz spoke on him. He didn't seem like he was, I think they asked him, so I don't think he just brought it up out the blue. But Fizz genuinely didn't have to compliment as much as he did. So I definitely felt to me like that was a genuine thing.
And Mike had done such a great job with the G League staff in developing those guys and developing system. And he's hit the ground running with us. It has been really fun having the fresh set of eyes with us. He's going to be a guy that really oversees our player development. But at the same time, like I told him, I still want him thinking with the eyes of a head coach and giving me suggestions and ideas that can help me in my seat.
Yeah.
But what else did you think about like Fizz's demeanor this year?
I guess just not as happy-go-lucky as he was last year. I mean, after 17 wins, you
I
kind
know.
of can't be. I think this year he definitely feels or will be feeling the pressure to really improve this team.
Right.
Because it's kind of up to him. It's up to him. I mean,
To show.
He's in his second year as a coach.
Yep.
Well, no.
Well, but for us, yeah.
With us, well, yeah, second year as a coach with us. And I think he really now needs to prove to the city that he can be that coach. We can win games. We can score. And let's see what the results are going to be.
Let's see.
Okay.
One thing Perry brought up that I really enjoyed as well was the one-year deals. People kept bringing them up. Oh, these one-year guys, how are they going to play? They're going to play for themselves. Blah, blah, blah,
I was
blah.
concerned about that as well. About
And-
these one-year guys, like, okay,
Yep.
they're going to come in and play for the 1 year, but are they really committed to being here?
And being a team
you
player.
you sort of corrected me and told me that yes, they will be because they chose to be here.
Well, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'll say
Sorry.
this. Your criticism is completely valid, and if you're a Knicks fan and don't worry about what she's talking about, then you're being naive. 100%. This train could fall way off the tracks. We'll be fighting in the team, beefing over minutes. Like, of course that can happen. But what I did, something I wanted people to consider is the fact that every guy was signed to a team option. Most of these guys, if not all of them, are making more money than they probably would on the open market. You know what I mean?
So basically saying that the Knicks are paying them more money than they could have made in any other team.
Most of the
the-
guys.
for the
Like
most
Marcus
part,
Morris is
for
a
the
great
most part.
example because he
Yeah.
got $15 million from us. He wasn't going to get that in San Antonio.
Right.
So for most of these guys, if you want to make that much, so it's two things, right? Money or staying with the Knicks. You never know if someone wants to stay with the Knicks. So you can't push that narrative, oh, they love it here, it's New York, blah, blah, blah. But people like money.
Randall does.
Randall, I think he definitely wants to be here, but people like money. And for these guys to get their option picked up for a second year,
They have to play well.
they have to
this
play
year.
well.
Right.
And the money dried up across the league. Everyone spent money this summer. Next year's free agency is not big. It's not going to be like this. So I definitely genuinely think all these guys are coming in with the idea of, I'm going to play hard in New York. We're going to do it.
So they want
But
to
it's
prove
easy to
so they
say-
want to prove themselves then.
But
so
it's easy to say in October.
right. So what it is basically is that these guys are on these 1 year options. do have to come here and play really well because they do want their second year option to be picked up.
Exactly.
Because they want to make that money next year as well.
Exactly.
I think also these guys are definitely going to be, it's going to be a lot of competitiveness on the court because we're so deep. Not just on the court, but also during practice. These guys are going to really have to play hard to be able to get minutes on the court in the game.
Yeah. And speaking of that, to wrap up with 2 quick points, RJ and Frank. Frank was brought up a couple times. No one can. Frank just keeps getting brought up. More so than any other player, Frank was brought up today. How crazy is that? More so than any other player.
He was.
Two different reporters. But what we want to say about Frank very quickly is Mills and Perry both acknowledge watching FIBA. You can see the look on Mills' face. That's the guy that's keeping Frank in New York. Their contract option they did not address. October 31st, we're going to see if he gets picked up. I definitely think they should. Not just being like a fan of Frank, but the idea is even if you want to trade Frank, you need to pick up his option so the team that's going to get him has him for 2 years. He's a better asset when the team that's going to get him knows he's going to be here. If you don't pick up the option and you trade him, any team that's getting him, he might be here for 6 months.
Right.
And you're not going to give up something if you know he might be.
So you want to almost increase his value.
Even if it's not just about him, just overall, you want to increase his value. Lastly, about RJ. They love what he did in summer league. They love the fact that he fought through adversity. You want to talk about that a bit?
Well, yeah. So I think that's really good as well because RJ definitely showed that he has that mentality to deal with. Okay, he didn't come out in summer league and ball out. He didn't have like an amazing game. Iggy did. That's really easy to do. I mean, not really easy to do, but really easy. You have a great game and you come out feeling great. But having a bad game and still having that mental strength to come back, and you're still pushing forward. Kind of good for him because it kind of grounds you a little bit.
It grounded him and it let him know what the real season's going to be like. So we'll see.